Most of the time, we think we are making choices in our daily lives. But the truth is, a large part of what we do every single day isn't really a choice. It's a habit. From the moment we wake up to how we brush our teeth, check our phones, drive to work, talk to people, and even how we think, our lives are filled with patterns that repeat automatically. Charles Duhigg, in his powerful book, The Power of Habit, explores this hidden world of habits, how they form, how they shape our lives, and most importantly, how they can be changed. He begins with a simple but powerful idea. Every habit follows a loop. This loop has 3 parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward. The cue is the trigger, the thing that starts the habit. The routine is the behavior or action we take, and the reward is the positive feeling we get after doing it. Our brain constantly looks for ways to save effort, and once it finds a pattern that works, it starts turning it into an automatic loop. Imagine this. Every afternoon, you feel a little tired, a little bored, and you walk to the cafeteria to buy a cookie. The cue is the time of day and the feeling of boredom. The routine is walking to the cafeteria and buying the cookie. The reward is the small pleasure and burst of energy you feel after eating it. Over time, your brain links the time of day and the environment with that reward, and before you realize it, the habit is formed. The most fascinating part is that once a habit is formed, it never really disappears. It stays somewhere in our brain, waiting for the right cue. That's why even after years, when you visit an old place, you suddenly fall back into an old routine. Habits can be changed, but they can never be erased. The only way to change a habit is to replace the routine while keeping the same cue and reward. This idea was tested at MIT, where researchers studied rats in a maze. They found that once the rats learned a certain path to reach food, their brains became less active while performing it. They didn't have to think anymore. The behavior had become automatic. The same thing happens in humans. The moment the cue appears, our brain switches to autopilot. That's the power and danger of habit. Charles Duhigg tells the story of a woman named Lisa. Her life was a mess. She smoked, drank too much, was deeply in debt, and her marriage had fallen apart. One day, after a painful breakup, she decided she wanted to quit smoking. She didn't plan to change everything, just that one thing. But something strange happened. Once she successfully changed one habit, other things in her life began to shift naturally. She started exercising, eating better, saving money, and even planning her career. Duhigg calls this a keystone habit. It's a single habit that has the power to start a chain reaction, transforming other habits along the way. For many people, exercise is a keystone habit. Once they start working out regularly, they begin eating better, sleeping on time, managing stress better, and even becoming more productive. The reason is that one small change builds confidence and discipline, which ripples into other parts of life. Companies use the power of habit all the time. Take, for example, the story of how Pepsodent toothpaste became a global success. In the early 1900s, hardly anyone brushed their teeth daily. Toothpaste was seen as unnecessary. Then, an advertising genius, Claude Hopkins, discovered a simple trick. He found that after brushing, people felt a tingling sensation in their mouth, that minty coolness. He used this as a reward. The ads connected that clean, fresh feeling with beauty and confidence. Within a decade, toothbrushing became a national habit. The formula didn't matter as much as the habit loop: cue, routine, reward. Another fascinating example Duhigg gives is from Procter & Gamble's product, Febreze. When it was first launched, it completely failed. People didn't feel the need to use it because it had no emotional reward. Then marketers added a pleasant scent and redesigned the campaign. Now the cue was cleaning, the routine was spraying Febreze, and the reward was the smell of freshness. It became one of the company's biggest successes. They didn't sell the product, they sold a new habit. Habits are not just personal, they shape organizations too. Duhigg talks about Paul O'Neill, the CEO of Alcoa. When he took over, the company was struggling. Instead of focusing on profits or production, he focused on one thing: worker safety. Everyone thought he was crazy, but focusing on safety created new habits: better communication, faster reporting, stronger trust. Those habits transformed the culture. Within a few years, Alcoa became one of the most profitable companies in its industry. This shows how habits can drive not just individual change, but massive organizational transformation. Leaders who understand how habits work can reshape entire systems by changing small, consistent behaviors. Another example that shows the darker side of habit comes from the story of a man named Eugene. After a brain infection, Eugene lost the ability to form new memories. Yet somehow he could still find his way home when taking a walk around the neighborhood. He couldn't explain how he did it. His brain had formed a habit, a pattern so deeply embedded that it worked even without conscious thought. That's how powerful habits are. They live in the deeper parts of our brain, beyond awareness. The book also explores how marketers, corporations, and even governments use habits to influence behavior. For example, when you visit a supermarket, the layout is designed to trigger habits. The most essential items like milk and bread are placed far apart so that you have to walk through aisles filled with tempting products. Loyalty cards and personalized ads use data to predict your buying habits and influence what you'll do next. One of the most famous examples Duhigg shares is how Target, the American retail chain, could predict when a woman was pregnant, even before she told anyone. By studying shopping habits, the company's algorithm noticed subtle changes in purchases: unscented lotion, vitamins, cotton balls. These cues were enough to predict a life event. It's a little scary, but it shows just how predictable human habits can be. The power of habit also looks at how social movements are built on collective habits. The civil rights movement in America, for example, wasn't just about speeches or leaders. It worked because people developed habits of gathering, protesting, and showing up again and again. Habits create stability, and stability creates power. Changing habits, however, is not easy. Our brains resist change because habits are energy-saving shortcuts. But it's possible when we understand the structure of the habit loop. Duhigg gives a simple method: keep the same cue, keep the same reward, but change the routine. If you smoke every time you're stressed, the cue is stress and the reward is relaxation. If you replace smoking with a short walk or deep breathing, keeping the same cue and reward, the brain gradually adopts a new routine. Over time, the new habit takes over the old one. There's another important ingredient in changing habits: belief. Research shows that people who believe they can change are the ones who actually do. That's why support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous work. It's not just the system of meetings and steps, but the shared belief that change is possible. Once belief becomes part of the habit loop, transformation becomes sustainable. Think of habits like invisible architecture. They shape everything, even when we're not aware. Whether it's an athlete training for success, a company designing its culture, or a society pushing for change, everything is built on small, repeated patterns. Duhigg explains that the key to mastering habits is awareness. Once you identify the cue, routine, and reward behind any behavior, you gain power over it. You can analyze why you do what you do. Is it boredom, stress, social pressure? Once you know the cue, you can experiment with the routine while keeping the same reward. It's also important to start small. Our brains love small wins. Big changes fail because they overwhelm the mind. But one small success, like making your bed every morning or writing for 10 minutes a day, builds momentum. Small wins create positive feedback loops. Over time, they become the foundation for larger transformations. Charles Duhigg's message is clear. Habits are not destiny. They are patterns, and patterns can be reshaped. Behind every successful person, company, or community, there are powerful habits quietly running the show. The difference between success and failure often comes down to what we repeatedly do without thinking. When you look closely, life is not really made up of big moments. It's made up of small routines. The way we start our mornings, handle challenges, treat people, react to emotions, all of it defines the direction of our lives. Change your habits, and you change your story. Every habit, no matter how strong, can be reshaped if you understand its structure. The cue stays the same, the reward stays the same. Only the routine changes. That's where freedom lies. You can't erase habits, but you can reprogram them. In one of the most memorable lines of the book, Duhigg says, "Once you understand that habits can be rebuilt, the power of habit becomes easier to grasp, and the only option left is to get to work." It's a simple truth. We become what we repeatedly do. Excellence, success, peace, health, happiness. They're not big one-time goals. They're habits practiced over and over. So if you really think about it, the power of habit is the power to design your life. You can let your old patterns run you, or you can rewrite them. The smallest change in a daily routine can create a ripple effect that transforms everything. That's the quiet, invisible power Charles Duhigg wanted us to see. And once you see it, you can never look at your daily life the same way again.